What a week 5 we had, folks, in college football. It was absolutely exciting. We had 4 top 10 teams in the AP poll lose. That's right. We saw 4 of the big dogs fall this weekend, and we're going to have a lot of changes this week in the Bakers Dozen poll. You can bet your ass on that. So we're going to get to it here. We're going to start out with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yes, they're still going to be the number 1 team ranked in my poll in the country. Longest Power 4 winning streak in the country. They just went on the road and broke a 22-game home winning streak there against the Washington Huskies. And this team, by far, is the number 1 team in my book. This defense is just absolutely incredible. It is really, really, really much better than I could have imagined through 4 weeks, considering they're only returning 3 starters. They have wins against Texas, which isn't making my Bakers Dozen anytime soon the way they're looking right now. And they have a win on the road at Washington and a quality win against a group of 5 teams, the Little Six and the Ohio Bobcats. So the Ohio State Buckeyes are staying at number 1 here going into week 6 of the college football season. And my number 2 team in the Bakers Dozen poll this week is going to stay the same as last week. That is going to be the Miami Hurricanes. That's right. They are still going to hold on to this spot above Oregon here. They still have really quality wins with wins against Notre Dame, USF, and even Florida. Listen, Florida can say what they want. That's a solid defense down there in Gainesville. And I think the Miami Hurricanes still deserve to be the number 2 team in the country going into week 6 of the college football season. All right, number 3. This team moved up a spot. Yes, their win over Penn State in Happy Valley was impressive, even though they let Penn State back in the game. I never felt like Penn State was going to win that game. I felt Oregon was going to win that no matter how many overtimes that thing went into. But I'm going to put the Oregon Ducks with Dante Moore and Dak Moore, the superstar freshman, here at the number 3 team in the country. Their wins, the reason they're not above Miami is they have 1 win on the road at Penn State. Yes, a quality win against a team that you're going to find has fallen completely almost out of the Bakers Dozen, but not yet. We'll find out. But they don't have really any other quality win. They beat Northwestern and the other 2 OSUs. That's right, Oklahoma State and Oregon State. The best second win they have here is against Montana State, a team that played in the FCS championship game last year. But we're going to put Oregon here at number 3. I think it's well-deserved. All right, here's a big jumper. You know, this was really challenging for the next group of teams here. But I'm going to go ahead and put Ole Miss here at number 4. I think that was a quality win against LSU, a team that I still don't think has much of an offense, but we'll get to that in a minute. But anyways, I think Ole Miss played really well the other day, considering they're playing with their backup quarterback. Austin Simmons is still hurt. We'll see what happens after the bye week. Who's going to take over this program if Austin's back and healthy? It'll be interesting to see. But I'm going to put Ole Miss here. They got a quality win against LSU, and they got a quality win against a group of 5 team in Tulane. So that's a quality win, doubled up on that. So I'm going to go ahead and put Ole Miss here at number 4. At number 5, this was a challenge, and I did this because of the number 6 team in my poll and what happened with them, but I'm going to go ahead and put the Indiana Hoosiers here at number 5. They've beat both teams. They won the Battle of the Eyes in the Big Ten. That's right. They beat Illinois, and they beat Iowa. So I'm going to go ahead and give Indiana the number 5 spot here, but they're going to have to keep earning it, and they got a big game against Oregon in a couple weeks, so we're going to see exactly how this thing shakes out for the Indiana Hoosiers. All right, at number 6, which I could have put at number 5 and maybe even at number 4, but it's the Oklahoma Sooners. And folks, I am doing this because John Mateer is not there for at least a week or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and who knows? I've heard everything from a week to out for the season. I'm not sure exactly what Oklahoma is going to look like without John Mateer. We're going to find out here real soon when they play Texas, but I'm just really interested to find out when John Mateer is coming back, because I think this is a national championship quality team as it sits, if they can get through this schedule in the SEC coming up, but it'll be really more challenging without John Mateer there. So Oklahoma is going to be my number 6 team here in the Week 6 Bakers Dozen. Let's roll on to number 7, and another SEC team's going to fill this spot, and I'm going to move the Texas A&M Aggies here up to number 7. Yes, I had Tennessee up a little higher last week. I got to drop them down, not because of their way they won at Mississippi State. I thought that was going to be a tough place to play for them, not a place they go to very often, and, Stark Vegas with those damn cowbells can be challenging to say the least, but I'm going to go ahead and put Texas A&M here at the number 7 spot, right behind Oklahoma. They could have been ahead of Oklahoma, but I just put them right behind. I think Marcel Reed is a tremendous quarterback. Yes, they played a tussle with Auburn, but like I said in my 5 thoughts on week 5 in college football, Auburn's going to be a tussle for everybody to play. Texas A&M got out of there with the win, or got out of the home stadium with the win. They played them at home. But anyways, the bottom line is Texas A&M here is the number 7 team in the country in the Bakers Dozen Week 6 edition. All right, let's move to number 8, and you're going to see a trend rolling here. Yes, it's going to be an SEC run right here between the number 4 spot through here, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to find out, but I'm going to go ahead and give the Alabama Crimson Tide here the number 8 spot. They went on the road. They were unranked in my poll last week, although they were ranked 2 weeks ago. But I'm going to go ahead and put Alabama here at number 8. I think this win on the road at Georgia is impressive, even though I think Georgia could have won that game, and Kirby Smart probably blew a couple things in there, and they had a fumble that cost them 3 points, was the difference in the game. I still think Alabama is getting on a roll here, looking better. They're running freaking offensive lineman now with the ball, so we'll see exactly where it goes. They're actually throwing them the ball now, and not just giving them the rock. They're actually throwing them the rock and making them run. It is unbelievable what we saw down there in Georgia on Saturday night. So I'm going to go ahead and give Alabama the number 8 spot in this week's Bakers Dozen poll. We're going to move to number 9 in the poll, and that is going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. That's right, folks. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to fall to number 9, 6 spots down from last week with that loss to Alabama. Although I think Kirby Smart should have kicked that field goal and tied that game up and then seen where it went from there. He very well could have won it that way. But anyways, he did it, and now they got a loss, and they're going to fall behind the Alabama Crimson Tide at number 9, which leads us to our number 10 team, which I had to move here because I can't put Tennessee above Georgia, and I can't put Georgia above Alabama. So unfortunately for Tennessee, they're going to drop 4 spots this week down to number 10. I still think Tennessee's a really good football team. They got on the road in a tough place to play with those freaking cowbells ringing your brain. And anyways, bottom line is they came out with the win in overtime. Hopefully, they don't need to win every damn game or lose every game in overtime this year, but they did this week win one in overtime. And I still think Tennessee has 2 solid wins. Syracuse isn't going to look like a solid win at the end of the season, but they lost their quarterback. They're going to be a much different team. But when Tennessee beat them and what they looked like the 2 weeks ago or the last 2 weeks, I think Syracuse was a good football team. They're probably not going to be anymore, but I'm still going to give Tennessee a quality win there. And then obviously they went on the road to Starksville and beat the Mississippi State Bulldogs. All right, let's move up to number 11 here, and that is going to be the LSU Tigers. Yes, they went on the road to Ole Miss and they lost that game. And I'm telling you, folks, I'm just not impressed with Garrett Nussmeier in this offense at all. And the defense is the thing I thought would be the weak point for this team coming into the season. And it's really the strength of the team, and the offense is the weak spot. Listen, Garrett Nussmeier is still mistake prone. He still can't get this offense rolling. It's just not really super great down there at LSU. Brian Kelly won't even answer the reporters on why the offense stinks. You know why? Because he knows it stinks and he doesn't want to tell anybody, because there's no one's surprised, Brian Kelly. So LSU is going to drop down to number 11, and that is going to stop our run here of SEC teams basically at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and put Ole Miss at 4. You had a run of about 6 teams in the SEC in my Bakers Dozen this week. That'll start shaking out as they get more games between them. All right, let's talk about number 12 team in the country, and that's Penn State. And quite frankly, I didn't even want to stick them in here, but I got to give them some credit because I got Oregon as the number 3 team in the country. But listen, folks, Drew Aller and those receivers just are not explosive. They're just not going to be explosive, so don't expect them to be explosive. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, I don't know what's going on with the two of them, but they're not the same dynamic duo they were last year. But Penn State is going to have to get a lot better here if they're going to win some of these games, which they've got to play Indiana, they got to play Ohio State, so they've got to win these football games now that they've got one loss on the belt or under their belt. So they've got to get this wins, but I just don't see how they're going to do it. I just don't see it. This offense is less than stellar. I can promise you that. All right, let's round out the Bakers Dozen with the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. Yes, folks, I've been on the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck train all year long. I'm still going to put them here at number 13. They dropped the spot from 12 last week. That was a very... Wake Forest probably should have won that game, but they screwed up some things and they didn't, giving Georgia Tech a 1-point overtime win, way closer than what it should have been by in my opinion. I don't think Wake Forest is the caliber of Georgia Tech, but anyways, bottom line here is Georgia Tech for now is my number 13th ranked team. Let's talk about some teams that are cooking something up here in week 6. And yes, we're going to start off with my week 5 ranked 13th ranked team in the country, and that would be the Texas Tech Raiders. I'm going to drop them just outside of the Bakers Dozen this week to the Cooking Something Up crowd, and I'm going to put them at number 1 in the Cooking Up Something crowd here. I think Texas Tech has a real possibility of being a really good football team. I still am a fan of Arizona State and Sam Leavitt here in this position, but I'm going to go ahead and give Texas Tech, the undefeated Texas Tech Raiders, here would be the first team in the Cooking Something Up. The next team in the Cooking Something Up better start cooking something up because they're going on the road to Alabama, and that's right, it's the Vanderbilt Commodores. And I don't know what to expect from this team this week. Can they win? Can Diego get back-to-back wins over Alabama at Vanderbilt? I don't know if it's ever even happened before. If you're a Bama fan, you can let me know. I can't imagine Vanderbilt's ever beat Alabama 2 years in a row, but maybe there's something going on this year in the cooking down there in Nashville, and Vanderbilt could pull it off, but I'm going to go ahead and put them here in the Cooking Something Up crowd. Another team that's cooking something up that was a little bit less impressive than I thought they would be last week against UMass, but anyways, that is the Missouri Tigers, and the Missouri Tigers are going to fall here at 3rd in the Cooking Something Up crowd. I think they've got, I tell you what I think the Penn State fans wish they had old Bo there back in Penn State instead of over there in Missouri, but I think this is a good football team. We're going to find out. They probably got one of the best running backs in the country. We're going to find out how this team looks when they start playing some bigger teams coming up in the SEC. But I think Missouri is adequately ranked here at somewhere around 16th in the country. Well, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention them again. Arizona State, they're definitely in my Cooking Something Up crew. Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson. This combination is one of the best in the country. Jordan Tyson's probably the best draft-eligible receiver in the country. The kid's getting all the coverage and still making all the plays. It's absolutely amazing. And Sam Leavitt, man, he is really, really poised. He knows how to win football games. They got a great running back in Brown. I really like where Arizona State here is going. We'll see if they can keep it up. They've had 2 comeback wins in the last 2 weeks. We'll see if they can keep that trend up. But I like Arizona State cooking something up. And the last team in my Cooking Something Up is going to be the Florida State Seminoles. Yes, folks, they lost to Virginia Friday night, and heck of a scene. I can tell you, I've never seen a stadium get rushed as quick as they did there at Virginia, and quite frankly, it might have been a little dangerous for some of those Florida State players. But I'm going to put Florida State here. I think they're going to be pissed off this weekend when they're playing the Miami Hurricanes in Tallahassee, and I expect them to play a lot better than they did last week, although it was just almost a thing of destiny there for Virginia to beat them. I don't know that Florida State could have did anything differently and won that game. But bottom line here is Florida State is my number 5 team in the Cooking Something Up crowd. All right, folks, if you noticed, I still don't even have Texas and what will be the top 18 teams in the country. And that's right, until they show us something for real. And they're going to have to play some real ball this week down in Gatorville. That's right, they're going to travel to Gainesville to play the Gators. And let me tell you, it's going to be a challenging environment for them. Yes, the fans are going to be raucous because they're going to want to disrupt Arch Manning. But I really do feel like the Florida Gators defense is just an absolute machine, and their offense has to at some point get going. They can't play all season with this crap of offense, or can they? And last but not least, my highest group of 5, the Little 6 ranked team going into this week is going to be the Memphis Tigers. That's right, Memphis is definitely right now has the best wins on their resume, although Arkansas just fired their coach, partly because they lost to Memphis. That's right. The Memphis beat Arkansas just last week. But I'm going to put Memphis here. They're 5-0, but they're 2-0 at home and 3-0 on the road. And that's pretty impressive for a group of 5 school to go on the road 3 times and win, because you know that they had to be playing at least one Power 4 team in that. So we're going to give Memphis the highest ranked group of 5, Little 6 team here going into week 6. All right, well, there's our Bakers Dozen poll for week 6. I hope you enjoyed it. More than likely, this is a bunch of cockamamie bull, and it'll probably be all different next week because that's how college football is going to be played this year, folks. No one knows what the hell is going to go on here week to week in the college football season, and that's what makes this sport so great. So gather around in ALTT. We'll see you on Thursday for the weekly predictor show. We'll see exactly how I did last week, and maybe we don't want to. All right, see you soon.